So whatever, a state or a community usually covertly or overtly practice or supports one of those ideologies. So sometimes we talk, for example, in the past few years, we have a lot of towns, localities here in the States which are involved in this fight. One of the examples is probably you read the news that's a barbecue shop in southern Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, put a sign there, so no English, no order. So that's the very local level. And there are also towns in Pennsylvania which pass laws to prohibit the use of Spanish. So a lot of wars going on. Of course, in China, it is the same. And multilingualism is not just an ideology. Actually, it is also an order. So multilingualism as a language order, it represents the relationships among languages. First of all, we can see that it is an institutionalized hierarchical relationship among the languages, whether it's in a state or in a community. For example, in China, the law, the constitution talk about equalities of languages. That's the ideal. So in practice, so language order is a social reality. So in practice, in a community or in a state, languages are not equal. They are hierarchies. So I think usually there are two strata of orders. So we can have the superior language and the subordinate language. Or there could be more. Say three strata, the superior and the super, some regional and some local languages. And we can see such orders. And as I mentioned, this is a social reality. And also, this is the consequence of power struggle among or between the speakers of a community or state. So it's the speakers who want to seek dominance for their languages. So in China, it is the Han people who want to seek dominance for Han over minority languages. And in the States, of course, English speakers want this dominance. So the question is, how does a state or community order their languages? They do this in a number of ways. They can use the laws, a local legislature to do this. The state or community can also control the domains of language use. They say, okay, you can use this language in this domain, or this domain is not for that language. The state or the community does that. And also the state or the community controls the access to resources. For example, financial support. Does the community or does the state support mother tongue education? That's a question. Or does it give you institutional support? For example, create offices for this, or give you schools for teaching minority languages, and also speakers. So because the control exists, they control your access to speakers. So that gives you an idea about language ideology and language order for any multilingual societies. Now, those orders and ideologies are closely related to a state or a community. So now we want to look into the Chinese case. we want to see specifically how the Chinese state evolved in the last 6 years in control the language ideologies and language orders. In the early 50s, because of the Cold War, China adopted the Soviet model of multinational state building. So that model, in the Chinese case, is basically a unified Chinese nation with autonomy for certain minority regions as a Chinese solution to the national question. In that approach, the PRC the People's Republic of China took a differentialist approach to citizenship in the name of autonomy. Here, when I say differentialist approach, I mean citizenship can be defined as thin or thick in terms of obligations and duties. So when a state expects more obligations and duties from its citizens, then that's thick. When a state expects fewer obligations and duties from its citizens, that's very thin. So in that model, in the name of autonomy, the Chinese state expects fewer obligations from minority communities. So that's in a sense of autonomy. And at that time, the state only expected certain things. For example, territorial citizenship in terms of patriotism. So you are a minority community, as long as you recognize being a part of China, you're fine. That's enough. Or also maybe some political citizenship, as long as you support the Chinese Communist Party. So those two things, that was what the CCP or the Chinese Communist Party or the People's Republic of China expected from minority groups in exchange for what is called autonomy. On the other hand, of course, the state expects less duties, obligations from minority groups in terms of cultural citizenship, social, economic citizenship, those areas. For example, as you all well know, the Chinese government did not start the social reform in Tibet until pretty late in Tibet, for example. And accompany that model of nation-state building, there's this ideology. We can say this ideology is multilingualism for a multinational state